This is Garis, Masculist MGTOW flyers, that is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 687, entitled Beating the Masculist Drum in Paris, London and Cambridge. Description. This flyer reports on my attempts to spread masculist ideas in the media in Paris, London and Cambridge, with mixed success. What struck me was the general level of ignorant, sexist, hypocritical bigotry regarding the general public's attitudes towards men's gender issues, after 6 decades of feminazi brainwashing that gender oppression is a one-way street. Now, the flyer itself. Beating the Masculist Drum in Paris, London and Cambridge, by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. I have not made a masculist flyer for 2+ months due to me travelling in Europe, 4 weeks in Paris and 2 weeks in Cambridge, UK. During those weeks I tried beating the masculist drum, aiming to get some publicity for the masculist cause in the traditional mass media, with mixed success. I spent the whole of the month of October in Paris, during which time I sent out my 2,000-word essay entitled, quote, A 2,000-word Introduction to Masculism, end quote, to nearly 100 French journalists and academics. That explains the main ideas of masculism that you can read with these 2 links. To get the links, go to my website and go to click on the Masculist tab, go to flyer number 687, look at the text of this flyer and click on the links that you want. The result, not in capital letters, not a nibble, not a single reply at all, which has suggested to me that France is still probably some years away from being open-minded enough to begin to absorb masculist and MGTOW ideas. I did notice, however, that the French seem quite familiar with Andrew Tate and his ilk in what the French call masculinisme. That is, a philosophy that pushes for the return of traditional masculinity, which has nothing to do with masculism, which is about men's rights, the men fairing of the gender laws, etc. London was quite a different kettle of fish, however. Brian Rose, of London Real fame, who before his London Real channel was deleted from YouTube, had gotten 1 billion, with a B, hits on his 2-hour interviews with interesting personalities. I had a 130-minute interview with him, my 3rd, with Brian, on the rise of massively intelligent machines, the rise of a fully democratic global state, and the last 40 minutes were on the theme of masculism, which gave me enough time to spell out most of the essential ideas of the masculist philosophy. So I'm very grateful to Brian Rose for his exposure of masculist and MGTOW ideas on the internet. Here's the link to that 3rd interview, and you can Google this. Countdown to Extinction, How AI Will Exterminate Mankind, Professor Hugo de Garis exposes all. Brian Rose London Real. However, I noticed that before his London Real channel was deleted by YouTube, I got about 12,000 hits per interview for the first 2, but only about 2,000 for the 3rd interview on non-YouTube video hosting platforms. Brian is really pissed off with YouTube for its censorship, as am I. We both felt thankful for Elon Musk and his rapidly growing X platform for its freedom of speech. So all of Brian's videos are up on X, as are all my masculist videos as well. Brian is hoping that Trump, once he's in power again, will lash out at internet censorship and punish YouTube for its lack of freedom of speech. Fingers crossed. At the end of the interview, I expressed my gratitude to Brian for providing a voice to the manosphere both on my own behalf and on behalf of the thousands of guys active in the manosphere, for helping to spread Masculist and MGTOW ideas to the masses. He said he strongly appreciated that. Brian does have a strong interest in men's issues and what it means to be a man. Do watch his recent interviews by Googling London Real. That's REAL. For my final 2 weeks in Europe, I was in Cambridge, UK, with its planet's top-ranking university. That's Cambridge University, which yearly vies with Harvard University of the US for the planet's top-ranking university. I joined the Cambridge Union Society with a paid-up membership which allowed me to attend talks. I attended a talk on inequality of education in the UK, brackets, with the title Closing the Gap, Addressing Educational Inequality in the UK, and got to ask the first question, actually 3, to a panel of 3 experts, 2 female, 1 male, on the stage. My first question was, what are other countries doing with their educational inequality problems? The second was, how will future technologies impact on education? And the third one, of relevance to the manosphere, was, no one mentioned that according to the manosphere, only about a quarter of young women study career-competent majors, so most women are dependent on men to work for them for decades of their lives, thus manslaving them, and for one father in 4, divorce raping them and ruining their lives. End quote. The reaction to the third question was derision, incredulity, and from the manosphere's perspective, total ignorance. One of the women mentioned the term fake news to the third question. The other 2 questions were answered properly. On leaving the room of the talk, I came across the techie who was videoing the session and got its link. On playing it back, I was angrily shocked to learn that my questions had been censored, but even then not fully, since about a quarter of my words can be heard on the video. The questions of other members of the audience were perfectly audible. Have a listen at 37:45 minutes into the video of the following link to judge for yourself. The emceeing female student on the right didn't even take the third question seriously, thus dismissing the gender issue of, in capital letters, half the world's population. That is, the male half, the sexist, hypocritical bigot. Here's the link. Google it. Closing the Gap, Addressing Educational Inequality in the UK. Cambridge Union. So, for the record, as men's lib ideas penetrate the planet, including Cambridge University, I want the Cambridge University Student Union to be shamefully conscious that when the first Masculist was present at one of its talks, his Masculist question was censored, which says something about the horrible sexist bigotry that a feminist brainwashed public feels towards men and men's issues. What is particularly shameful for the Cambridge Union Society is that at the top of their webpage they advertise that they have been promoting freedom of speech since 1815. Their hypocrisy with regard to masculism belies this. In capital letters, you do not censor half the world's population. It's not surprising that in the US today, in brackets, according to a Pew, PW, Research Center poll of 2022, close brackets, 2/3 of young US men don't even date young women, seeing them as undateable due to young women being poisoned by feminism. We Masculists have a major educational job ahead of us, namely the bi-consciousing of society by teaching it Masculist ideas so that women and men realise that gender oppression is very much a two-way street, and that in fact women oppress men far worse with their horrible and decades-lasting gender crimes against men. Thank God for X. X is now, as far as I know, the second largest video hosting platform, about a sixth the size of YouTube, and catching up. Brian Rose and I both think that the probable reason why manosphere sites are now more likely not to be deleted by YouTube is due to the competition coming from X. Nearly all the guests interviewed by Brian have an X channel, as do I, which is Garis Masculist Videos, in brackets, at Garis Masculism, that's all one word, without the I in masculism, close brackets, /X. In brackets, go to my website, click on the Masculist tab, then click on the Masculist flyer number 687 to find the text of this flyer, which has the links in clickable format. The fact that Masculist ideas are now appearing on the internet on programs such as Brian Rose's London Reel, with its billion total hit count, is indicative of the rise of the manosphere in the media. So it's likely that within a very few years, Masculist and MGTOW ideas will burst the feminazi censorship dam and spread across the planet, liberating billions of men and crushing the horrible, hypocritical bigotry of the monoconscious feminazi bigots, that's MFBs, who are now being exterminated by young men in the US by being forced to rot on the shelf, manless, loveless, sexless, babyless, utterly rejected both socially and sexually. As Masculist and MGTOW ideas really penetrate the masses, young women will learn that it's very much in their self-interest to learn some masculism, thus making them bi-conscious, that is, learning that gender oppression is very much a two-way street, and that women oppress men far worse with their awful, decades-lasting gender crimes against men. If women don't do this faster than their boyfriends, then their bi-conscious boyfriends will see their monoconscious feminist girlfriends as bigots, become disgusted with them and dump them in their millions. The women on the panel were utterly ignorant of Masculist ideas, and that ignorance showed in their hypocritical bigotry regarding men's issues. Imagine a few years from now, when nearly all men in Western countries have been masculisted, infected by the Masculist virus. These men will not tolerate, capital letters, monoconscious feminazi bigots, that's MFBs, and will bite their fucking heads off, haranguing them out of the room with verbally violent, ideologically hateful masculist rhetoric until nearly all women have been masculisted and hence have become bi-conscious. Masculists find bi-conscious feminists a lot nicer to be with than MFBs, whom Masculists effectively exterminate by forcing them to rot on the shelf, dying slow, miserable, manless, lonely deaths. As the Masculist and MGTOW content already on X penetrates the planet's mind over time, monoconscious feminism will die out, killed off by both bi-conscious Masculists and female Masculists, who are now coming out of the woodwork in droves, as they see for themselves that 2/3 of young US men are not even prepared to date young women, due to the feminist poison that has contaminated these young women's minds. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. In brackets, click on the Masculist tab for 680 plus Masculist essays and their videos. Google the terms London Reel and Hugo de Garis to see videos on masculism at, quote, AI will kill 1 billion people, dash. Do we create our exterminators? Question mark. Professor Hugo de Garis, dash, London Reel, end quote. In brackets, see the last half hour of this 2-hour interview for the Masculist segment, as well as, dash, countdown to extinction, comma, how AI will exterminate mankind, close quotes. Again, for the last half hour on masculism. These flyers are available in text and video formats on Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, MGTOW.tv, X, and YouTube, in brackets, although well down in the search list, since YouTube has shadow banned my Masculist videos. I have nearly 1,000 Masculist videos in 14 playlists on YouTube that can be accessed by searching for the channel name Garis Masculist videos. That's all one word. All 1,000 of my Masculist videos in one long list in most recent first time order can also be found on X by searching the channel name Garis Masculist videos. That is 4 words. Ciao.